Good evening, everyone. We'll get started in about 30 seconds, please.
I talked to Dave, that told me not to come tonight.
All right, where are
Getting
we?
better.
And
I can sleep at night now.
no. I don't.
Start.
Believe it or not, I cleaned out my purse.
It is.
My pen fell off.
Hang on a minute. Let me see what I've got in here.
Yeah, the boss has got one. Make sure I give it back. I got the boot now instead of cane. Yeah.
Okay.
I have a tube of
got one.
lipstick. That's as close as I can
That's going to
come.
go till probably the end of the year. You survived the day.
Although it looks like
there.
Grand Traverse County Ways and Means Committee meeting. It is, it's October, so we're moving forward
All
October
month.
15th. So if we could start with the Pledge of Allegiance, please.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
If you wouldn't mind silencing all cell phones would be a wonderful thing. And I would note that Administrator Dave Benda is still off ill. He's been out of the office all week as he's been sick. So
I did talk to him today, and he was still sounding pretty rough.
yeah, and the last time I talked to him, it wasn't good. All right, the first order of business be the roll call, if you would, please, Bonnie.
Commissioner Inman,
Here.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Limcool,
Yep.
Max Bauer,
Here.
Rennie, Thomas,
Yep.
Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am. Next is the approval of the minutes of the September 17th, 2014 meeting. Motion by Rennie, supported by Lathrop. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. This brings us to the first opportunity for public comment. Bonnie, if you'll read the rules, please.
Any person shall be permitted to address a meeting of the Board of Commissioners which is required to be open to the public under the provision of the Michigan Open Meetings Act. Public comment shall be carried out in accordance with the following board rules and procedures. Any person wishing to address the board shall state his or her name and address. No person shall be allowed to speak more than once on the same matter, excluding time needed to answer commissioners' questions, if any. The chairperson shall control the amount of time each person shall be allowed to speak, which shall not exceed 3 minutes. The chairperson may, at his or her discretion, extend the amount of time any person is allowed to speak. Public comment will be solicited during the 2 public comment periods noted in Rule 5.4, Order of Business. However, public comment will generally be received at any time during the meeting regarding a specific topic currently under discussion by the board. Members of the public wishing to comment should raise their hand or pass a note to the clerk in order to be recognized and shall not address the board until called upon by the chairperson.
Having heard the rules for public comment, is there anyone wishing to make comment at this time? Trudy?
Wendy Chert, Health Officer, Grand Traverse County Health Department. I'm here tonight and very pleased to introduce you to our new Director of Administration and Finance Services, Marissa Mill-Iron. And I'm going to have her tell you a little about her background. But I just wanted to introduce you so you can see her face, and we're not going to put her on the spot tonight on finance stuff. So.
Welcome aboard.
Why not?
We want her to stay.
We want her to stay.
I could leave.
Good answer, Wendy.
Just a little bit about my educational background. I have an undergraduate degree from Lake Superior State University, and then I received my Master's of Business Administration from Davenport here in Traverse City, and I hold my CPA certificate as well. Some of my professional background, I have 7 years in public accounting. 5.5 of those were with Dennis Gartland near Garth here in Traverse City. So I think it was 4 years ago, I was one of the auditors for the county here, so I'm kind of familiar with a little bit of what goes on here. 2 years, I was also the internal auditor for Bay Mills Resorts and Casinos, so I kind of have a little background with the internal control area. So that's just a little bit about me. So.
Go Davenport.
Yeah.
Welcome to Grand Traverse
All
County.
right. Thank
Yeah,
you.
thank you.
She also has audited health departments in,
All right.
in the, not us, but a different one. So I also wanted to make sure you saw, as commissioners, the email about the flu clinic was scheduled for tomorrow, but we had a delay in shipment. So we are asking right now that it just go to Commission on Aging employees and first responders, so city, fire, and police. We anticipate getting more in the next couple of weeks, and we'll set a new date for everybody to get it, but we just want to get the first responders and people who have direct care taken care of first, so appreciate your patience.
What clinic? For flu shots.
Flu, influenza.
Flu
Flu
clinic,
shots.
okay.
Yeah, thank you.
Yeah.
So, got mine already.
Is there anyone else wishing to make comment?
Hello, my name is Tom Mayer. I live at 612 Fifth Street in Traverse City, and I just have a couple election notes. Last night at the Garfield Township meeting, Kay, the clerk, told everyone that about a little less than one-third of the absentee vote has been returned already, which is, I guess, normal for this period of time. But that is equivalent to early voting, in case people in Michigan don't realize we have early voting. This is the ballot right here. This is a sample for one of the Garfield Township areas. There's two proposals right in the center of the reverse about wolf hunting, and I've studied that, and I would recommend that you vote no against the wolf hunt, trophy hunting of wolves. That doesn't mean that you can't rid your farm of a wolf if it's bothering your farm animals. There's exceptions, in other words. And then lastly, I just got this artwork today. The State Theater offers each election to make the theater available to each one of the three largest political parties, which the third largest would be the Green Party. So that is available to the Republican Party, the Democratic Party, and the Green Party. You get a chance to use the theater. You can have speakers, a movie, whatever. We've chosen a movie that includes Robert Redford and Meryl Streep as narrators. It's about 5 chapters, or about 5 different periods in time that cover the environmental movement, up to Bill McKibben talking about climate change at the end of the movie, and it is free. Starts at 8:30 with the candidates speaking first at the State Theater on Monday the 20th. Thank you.
Anyone else? Seeing none, we'll move into the approval of the agenda. I do have a note on my desk that Judge Stanton, and I see she was able to get out of her early meeting, or late afternoon meeting to be here, would like to speak to us briefly, and I think I would suggest that we put that under underneath the special order of business. Yeah, Mike's here also, so. But I think we'll put the judges under special order of business if we could, please. So with that addition, I would entertain a motion to approve the agenda.
I make a motion that we approve the agenda with the exception of adding the judges on special order
Okay.
business.
Okay. Is there any other, we have a motion and we have a second? Okay, we have a motion by Lathrop, second by Max Bauer to approve the agenda with the amendment. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Moving forward with the consent calendar, seeing no items on the consent calendar, would bring us to special order of business. Judge Stanton, if you'd like to go first.
Good evening. Nice to see everybody again. It's been a while. We are here today. I don't know if you're aware. I think the reason why we're here is for the budget. I have asked for a full-time judicial assistant. I currently have one that is part-time, and it is necessary at this time that I get someone to be there with me full-time that can help me and assist me. I have the busiest court in Grand Traverse County. Depending on which statistics you look at, my caseload is either 1.4 judges or 1.7 judges to cover the case amount that I have. And it's not going to be getting any slower. It is going to be getting faster as we become busier and busier and busier. So I'm asking for a full-time judicial assistant. And I was approached by the district court, and they will also be willing to go in on this judicial assistant, and I'll let Mr. Skepka tell you.
That's correct. We would be asking for 0.1 FTE, a half day a week with respect to this position to help as an attorney magistrate to handle our small claims cases. So I think you're all aware that in 2015 we'll be down to, based on a judicial resources study, the district court will be down to 2 judges to cover 3 counties, where for the last 14 years we've had 3 judges. So 2 judges actually are going to be covering the workload essentially of 3 judges. So, and an attorney magistrate is authorized under Michigan statute to handle small claims cases. And we're really struggling now to come up with a workable calendar here just in Grand Traverse County, such that Judge Phillips and I can handle the work of 3 judges. So to have a magistrate for a half day a week, attorney magistrate that is, to handle the small claims cases, that would be a significant benefit to us, such that we could attend to all the other work, landlord-tenant, traffic hearings, all the criminal cases, jury trials, jury selections. We're going to be really challenged to fit all this in with 2 judges. So that would be our request.
Dan?
Are you asking for 1 full-time FTE between the 2 of you? Or you're asking for a full-time and you're asking for a half-time?
One position.
To do both? Okay, thank you.
And right now, Judge Stanton has a person in a half a position, correct? So really, what you're only asking for between the 2 of you is a 1/2 position? Okay.
Do you have an idea of what it would cost us?
Yes, I do.
$2,100. $39,000 increase.
$39,000, does that include benefits?
Correct.
Okay.
Thank you.
Yeah, you mentioned that you're going to be down a judge, but yet Judge Haley is on the ballot. I don't understand if you're going to be losing a judge and he's on the ballot and he's going to have another 6-year term.
No.
You're putting us on the
No.
spot, you know.
No.
Well, I'm sorry,
no.
I just did
I'd be
my ballot
happy.
today, and you know, and I was reading
You
this.
voted for him?
Yeah, and it was like, okay, if I'm going to vote for him and he's in for another 6 years, so.
He did make the statement today that he thinks he'll win.
There wasn't anybody else there.
That's the joke. No, he's given notice to the state and the governor that he's retiring January 31. The reason he did that was to assist Judge Phillips, to give Judge Phillips some support. Judge Phillips has family needs, and that's why Judge Haley graciously decided to stay on, but has now decided to retire officially January 31. So we will be, and I'm taking over for him actually January 2nd, really, so.
Awesome.
Sobriety.
The State Court
In the sobriety court and everything else.
State Court Administrator's Office has decided that we only needed 2 district court
Right.
judges, correct? And what was the date of that decision? The effective date of that decision?
Well, that statute was passed, I think, sometime in 2012, and the way it works is that the reduction in district court judges will be done by way of attrition, and Judge Haley's retiring, thus, that seat will go away by way of attrition. It's really too bad because we're a very, very busy court, and but district court judges were created by the legislature in 1968. All the other judges, the probate family and circuit judges, are provided for in the Michigan Constitution. So the easiest judges to get rid of are the district court judges because they can do it by way of legislation rather than going through the rigorous and arduous exercise of amending the state constitution with regard to the other judges. So, it is what it is. We'll deal with it. We're losing a district court judge, and we'll just have to deal with it. But we're very, very busy, and it's going to be a challenge to handle the workload. But we're up for it, and we'll do it. We'll figure it out somehow.
I might
It'd
say
be nice to
very-
have an attorney magistrate.
A very valuable and very good judge that we're going to be losing.
Absolutely.
Judge
Oh, yeah.
Haley's been a great judge.
Yep, we're
Done
going
a
to.
great job with the sobriety court.
Big big shoes to fill, so.
Oh, you'll do it.
Well, I think the purpose of this information tonight is just to present this and before the commissioners. All of these positions will be subject to the discussion in their budget. We have it on our agenda later in the agenda to talk about the budget. It's going to be my suggestion that we, with David not being here tonight, that we postpone much strenuous discussion about that until next Wednesday night. Fortunately, this is the month that we have 5 Wednesdays, so we have next Wednesday night free. So, I'm going to ask for a motion to schedule a special meeting for next Wednesday night to review, specifically for the purpose of discussing the budget.
And just so you're also aware, my judicial assistant also works as my bailiff for trials. So we don't take anybody from the sheriff's department and take time away from that. And if we did, that would cost more money. They also need to be an attorney for the fact that they'll be doing the preliminary inquiries with the juveniles. So they cover a broad base of things that they do, and it's really nice to have that person available to do that, along with the research, preparing memos, keeping us up to date on the law that comes, because I'm sure as you're aware in family law, it changes from day to day and minute to minute, and also with abuse and neglect. And we've had a major overhaul in the abuse and neglect area in the last 6 months since June, when Sanders came down, requiring both parents be adjudicated. So we've had a lot more on our plate to deal with.
Dan?
I'm just interested, this person that you're hoping to hire, is this person an attorney?
Yes, yes. If they want to work in his court for that, yes, and they would also have to be an attorney to do preliminary inquiries for us.
Okay, thank you. Yeah.
Is there any further questions for Ms. Julia? Do you have anything else you wanted to add this evening?
I just want to tell you, the person in that position right now, the half-time position, she is an attorney.
Good.
And she
Yeah.
has young children at home, so she needs to go home for a little bit, so.
Yeah,
Okay.
cool.
Larry?
Just one quick question. With Judge Haley leaving, that was all state-paid compensation for his salary and everything else. Is that correct?
Yes.
So there was like no county money involved in any of his compensation at all? Or other than like healthcare or whatever? Did we cover
Healthcare and then his retirement.
So we could just take that healthcare. I don't know if he's got, I don't know if we have the retiree healthcare for the judge or whatever, but is that portion we can just fold into this other position? Is that what the thought process is, or no? Is that available?
I don't know what he's doing with respect to healthcare.
Okay. I was just wondering if whatever we were paying in terms of his compensation, and if he was leaving, I guess that's a Dean question, is that available to just transfer over to fund that other position?
Well, we can look at that. Currently, we have Judge Haley in the 2015 budget because of we had been told that he might retire, but until we know that for a fact. The state does provide funding for the district court judges. They don't fully fund those positions, so there is a county cost. And, if the cost of not having Judge Haley in the budget would offset the cost of this .5 FTE, that's definitely something we can look at, but I don't know what those numbers are off the top of my head, but...
Obviously, we have more research to do yet. Chris?
Judge Stepka, I've got some questions for you, but I don't need to ask them tonight. May I give you a call later this week?
Sure, and I'd be happy to come back at any time and provide any of the commissioners any additional information that you need on our request. So, yes, you can contact me.
Thank you.
Yep.
Okay. Dan?
I've got a dumb question. Is drug court will continue then?
Yes, it's
Judge
actually...
Haley's court will continue.
Yeah, it's actually called sobriety court.
Yeah.
A drug court is something
Okay.
different, but yeah, absolutely, that will continue. Judge Haley began that in 2001. It was very difficult, really, to get off the ground, but it got off the ground, and he has grown that to be a very successful court. And I think it was 2008, it became a national academy teaching court, so other counties that wanted to create a sobriety court came up and observed his court. So, I mean, that's a tremendous award for him to receive. The recidivism rate, I don't have the figures in front of me, but is very low for those who successfully graduate from the program. Even those who don't successfully graduate from the program, studies have shown that they too have a lower recidivism rate than those who have gone through the traditional probation program on that type of offense, an OWI second or third. So, yeah, I'll be taking that over for him, and big, like I said, big shoes to fill.
I watched that grow over the years, and seeing people go through it. It's a great program.
Absolutely.
It really has helped a lot of people.
It has, yeah. So.
Thank you both for coming this
Okay,
evening.
thanks for giving us a chance to present this tonight. Take care.
Moving forward, we have the Equalization Department. Jim is here to talk about the apportionment report and millage rates.
Good evening. You have in front of you the compiled millage rates, and they have been reviewed and verified by this office. This is a statutory day that we're supposed to approve this apportionment report, but just bear in mind that elections coming up in November can actually change the numbers on this, and if that happens, I'll be back asking for an amended report in November. So we do need to approve this tonight and then amend it in November if the elections dictate so.
Yeah, I don't see the pavilions on here, and I think they've been in the past, and I think that's paid off, right?
The pavilions is included, if you look in the top left-hand corner, do you have this summary? The total county, the middle column, the 1.2595 includes the .6595 mils for the pavilions and the .6 mils for the Commission on Aging, both the .5 and they're included in that.
But isn't that being paid off?
The last levy for the pavilions is this December. It was a 20-year levy, and it will be included or levied this December.
Oh, so this will be the final
Yes.
time for the pavilions? Okay.
Would entertain a motion to approve the apportionment report. Motion by Rennie, supported by Thomas. Further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carried. Jim, do you need immediate signature on that, or can you wait till the end of the month?
Actually, just the board minutes is fine, and the only signature required is mine to the state, so.
Okay.
Very good,
And
thank you.
depending on the election, maybe I'll be back in November, so, thanks.
Okay. This brings us to the Health Department, the intergovernmental agreement for the regional medical examiner. Wendy's taking a nap outside.
Dr. Fliss will be joining me. She's en route. Dr. Fliss is the medical examiner. So.
All right.
Where's she at? Yeah.
In traffic, it's bumper to bumper.
Could be. She also had to get from Empire to her house, then back to here by 6.
Oh,
so.
good.
Down 72, forget it.
Isn't going to happen.
Well, North Long Lake Road
72,
won't take
31.
long either.
Yeah.
22 are slammed.
So I believe in your packets you have budget, 2014, October 1st to December 31st, proposed budget for 14, and then an entire fiscal year 2015 budget. The way it is set up, it kind of has core costs, which would be the cost of doing business no matter how many cases we had in all 3 counties. And that would be the personnel, the operations, and the administrative or indirect costs. The contractual costs are kind of variable costs. It just would be dependent on the type of medical examiner case. That would be something like forensic autopsy or toxicology, things like that, that cost additional dollars, but only if the case warrants it. So that's why those are kind of listed as variable. And I did my best to estimate how many cases we anticipate in 2014 and 15 based upon numbers from the past couple of years. We are seeing an increase. I've talked about that in the past. In the capital costs, we included them for 2014 primarily because we have to set up kind of a way for them to operate. In the past, a lot of support in the structure had come from Dr. Houghton's medical office. And so some of these costs include computer, IT support, phones. Part of it is also helping with a morgue expansion at Munson, and that would be shared across all 3 counties. And that's really just to secure space. We have to have a morgue to have a medical examiner's office. There's no other option in our 3-county area right now. Funeral homes can hold bodies and do every day for, temporary for when they're preparing someone for a funeral, but it's by no means a morgue. So that is built in, and we would get an agreement with Munson that would allow us to have access to the morgue. There's office space there so that our forensic investigator could, when she needs to go in and use that office space. I've already started that discussion with them, and so it's just a matter of getting that finalized. But that's what we would try to kind of get as our, I don't want to say it's money for that, but that would help us. And it'd help us solidify that we're not going to just get a call someday and have them say, we can't do this for you anymore. I did a proration for all 3 counties, and it's based on kind of the average of 3 different proration methods. One is our caseload and the different kinds of cases in each county, the previous budget for each of the 3 counties, and then the population. It's not all population driven. So I took an average of that. We can talk about that method. I use my epidemiology skills to the best of my ability, and Dean reviewed it. And we also know that if all 3 counties hopefully approve of this, that we will have to revisit and kind of do a check every quarter to see where we're at, to see if those numbers are accurate. I can tell you it's very hard to predict. So, do you want me to move on, or do you want me to entertain questions that we could go through?
You want them now or later?
Go ahead.
The proportion options, I don't understand why it wouldn't just be by population.
Because, I'll give you an example. Benzie County has a higher caseload and a lower population than Leelanau County. So medical examiner cases are determined not by population, but by the type of death. So a suspicious, an unnatural death. And so it's not really fair to assume it's just based on population. Benzie County happens to have more drug overdose deaths, and that's why their numbers are higher.
I was just wondering if these numbers would somehow be skewed, especially the previous budget, by the fact that we're kind of a magnet county for folks through our medical delivery system.
I will say the numbers are skewed for Grand Traverse County, definitely, but there's nothing we can do about it. It is the county at which they die that determines the medical examiner case. And there's nothing in the law that allows us to recoup dollars from having a very good healthcare system that draws people from all other counties.
I guess my problem then is that if you look at population versus the average you came up with, there's about 6% difference.
Yes, but I will tell you this, by adding the population in there, it actually helped Grand Traverse County. Otherwise, we were going to be at about 82% of the total cost. So by looking at all 3 and kind of factoring that in, it did balance us out a little, not completely. But that's part of why we factored it in.
It just seems like you're mixing apples and oranges a little bit.
Any questions, Chris?
I don't have any questions. Wendy, I know you've put an incredible amount of hours into this arrangement, and I think it's the best solution for this region, and I support it.
You make that motion?
I would make that a motion.
And I will support it.
Okay, we have a motion by Max Barr, supported by Lim Cool, to approve the proposed budget and intergovernmental agreement between Leelanau, Benzie, and Grand Traverse County to provide medical examiner services to our region. Further comments and questions?
Can I introduce Dr. Fliss so she can stand up here for some questions in case you have some for her?
Absolutely.
This is Dr. Nicole Fliss. She was first the deputy medical examiner for Grand Traverse, and then Benzie and Leelanau added her on, and she has been taking over interim medical examiner for all 3 counties after Dr. Houghton's passing. Good evening.
Good evening.
Welcome aboard. It's great. The question I have is, you're looking at about $231,000 additional coming out of the revenue from the health department's budget. Where are we going to get this money from?
I don't think I said it was coming out of the health department's budget. I believe it would have to come from the general fund appropriated to the health department's
that-
Well,
budget.
yeah, but we don't have that kind of money, you know,
Well,
that's
that-
my concern.
There's additional discussions that we need to have here on this. You know, Wendy certainly doesn't control the costs here, and there has been much discussion regarding, you know, how did we get or arrive at these numbers, but keep in mind that the arrangement that we had with Dr. Houghton was a very favorable arrangement to the counties, not only Grand Traverse County, but the other two counties that we're talking with here. And he was actually considering an increase in his rates prior to his health issue. Wendy and I, maybe this is a good time to, you know, if you look at the details here, and Chris helped with the agreement, I think maybe just a brief, maybe some comments about, I mean, we've been to Benzie County. I think you have to go back to Leelanau County. She's answered, fielded numerous questions on those issues, and I think she's done one heck of a job here pulling this together. And yes, Dave has had discussions with both Wendy and I about the costs here, but we have some options that we'll present here as we work through the budget process to offset those cost increases that we're looking at here.
I noticed that you also are talking about the cremation fee that we had on our agenda a few months ago and pulled it off and rescinded it. And I don't think anybody understood that we are paying that fee. We're already paying it. And so it's just coming out of our general fund, and this is a way to build, if we bring that back onto our agenda, that will be another way of being able to get more money to be able to pay for the medical examiner.
We did list it as a potential revenue source for all three counties. I was at Benzie County last week. Last night, Dr. Fliss and I were in Leelanau County, and they had questions about all of this, including the cremation permits, and I'm going to let Dr. Fliss make a couple of comments about that. But I told you I would be back on that, and I know the public, a small proportion of the public, but they said it was a death tax. I can tell you right now, the way it's set up, it's more of a death tax than the way that we're proposing, because right now, everybody is paying for certain people's choice to have a final disposition in that method. We all have choices. We can donate our body, we can be cremated, we can be buried. The only one that requires medical examiner approval and time, and she'll tell you how much time that is cremation. And it's not just medical examiner death, it's all. And in our county, because we have people from other counties who unfortunately die in our county, our taxpayers are actually paying for other out-of-county people's choice to get cremated. I'm going to let Dr. Fliss talk a little bit about cremation permits.
So every family that wants to have their loved one cremated, the death certificate has to come to me to review to make sure that indeed it was a natural death, it wasn't, you know, a fall or some other kind of accidental death that required my investigation. And so I have to look at every single one of them, and that's approximately 5 a day, 7 days a week. Okay. Monday through Friday, it doesn't matter. They come in Saturdays and Sundays. There's some days there are more, and definitely Grand Traverse County takes on, you know, because of Munson Medical Center, they take on many more cremation permits than probably the population of the county would warrant. So that's kind of an unfair thing that the residents of Grand Traverse County take on, is that's really they're paying for me to do that. And so I think the cremation permit fee might be a way to distribute that back to the residents of the counties that these folks came from. So, but it does take a lot of my time. In fact, it's probably takes up most of my time. As if I were to allocate how much of my time is spent on medical examiner duties, most of it is reviewing cremation permits and death certificates for cremation.
What is the recommended fee on something like that? You got a dollar amount, but I don't see the fee per.
Oh, I was going with the $50 that we proposed.
$50?
Last time.
Okay.
Dan? I've got 3 questions. One for you, Wendy. How do we handle this now? Right now, doctor's not, we've not voted to hire her. How do we handle it currently?
You're not paying me right now, I'm doing this.
You're just doing it for free?
Oh, she'll be paid.
The Public Health Department is working with Dr. Houghton's accountant to back pay me, but I have not, my investigator and I have not been paid since August.
Wow. Okay.
We've given you all some time to grasp this rather major change, and but I can't do that forever. So.
Yeah, and let me just add a little more. Dean and I are meeting tomorrow morning to finalize the August billing, which we will be working with his accountant. So we pay them an amount, and then he will disperse it, and we have it separated out for Dr. Fliss, the different staff, because they were contract employees with Dr. Houghton. For September, because the agreement, we're proposing the agreement start October 1st, and we may have to change that date. Chris might have to guide us on that. But for September or even October, we will pay them as contract employees from the county, I believe is what.
I've got two more.
Yep.
Is this a full-time job for you, doctor?
No, we have it proposed. I mean, I have a full-time job as a family doctor for Crystal Lake Clinic. I work in Empire as a family doctor, and I work there about 4 days a week, 4.5. And so I do this before hours, after hours, at lunchtime, nights, weekends. And so in this proposal, we've tried to come up with an FTE equivalent, full-time equivalent that was a guess, because when you're on call 24/7, it's pretty hard to say how much of a job is that, because there's some days where I don't have much contact. There's other days where I'm talking to my investigator many, many times a day. I'm on the computer doing death certificates, reviewing permits. So in this proposal, it's a .375 FTE, right? .375 FTE.
Okay.
So about a third time.
And we're paying,
Three-fifths, you guys
we're paying
say.
$220,000 for that .375 FTE? Is that what you're saying?
Dan, if you look at page 20, there's a breakdown in your chart.
Yeah, I've got it right here.
No, I mean, that's part of the 220. It's a small part of it, but it's also for a senior forensic investigator full-time.
Now, if we vote, this is a question for the board, if we vote yes tonight on this motion, does it commit us to this?
Yes.
Okay, and that be, we making that decision before we adopted the budget.
No, we got to have the person, so. We have to have the person, so.
Okay, just asking.
Yeah, that amount includes a lot of things. I mean,
Okay.
it's staffing plus it's operational costs.
I have to confess, I looked at a lot of things today on the budget, but I didn't look at
Okay.
this, so.
There's a detailed sheet. I broke it all out for you.
You did your homework, thank you, I haven't seen it.
Other comments, questions? Charlie?
I still feel, looking at our budget situation going forward, that we're paying too much on this proportional analysis you did. I know it's not a lot if we looked at 5-6%, but still, you're kind of setting a precedent, I feel, going forward. I don't know if there's any room around this or not with these other parties at this point or not.
Proportionately, with what I'm proposing, it's actually less than what we've paid in years past, if you want to look at it. And I should let you know, I did some extra analysis that you don't have, that just based upon our caseload for the first 9 months of this year through September, we would have had, the projection is we would have had to pay an additional $44,400 just because of the kinds of cases. We've had an increase in the number of autopsies. Benzie County was looking at a $28,000 increase, which is a lot. That's even more than their entire budget, because they had 400% that's what I'm projecting, autopsies than they've normally had. So some of the increase that you're seeing, we were going to see no matter what. It's not anything we have control over, but not all of it.
I understand you don't have control over that, but we do have some say in how we proportion these costs out.
Yes and no. The state law for medical examiner says cases are defined by county of death. Unless we're going to take them back over a county line, we don't have control of all of that. And the way this is prorated out actually works a little bit in our favor.
If you look at it from that standpoint, I understand what you're
Yeah.
saying.
Well, I think the other piece to remember about that, though, is even though this is prorated out with the statistics that we have before us, I think if I understood Wendy correctly, they're going to quarterly reevaluate that. So just because we budgeted at this percentage doesn't mean that's the percentage we're going to pay at the end of 2015, because if our caseload goes up proportionately or goes down proportionally, our numbers that we're going to pay is different. Is that correct?
Agree with that?
For the contractual piece, there are costs that are in the budget that will be based on the average that we've calculated here, but the contractual, some of this is actual cost. I mean, for the autopsies that we have that are Grand Traverse County, or the forensic cases, so it's a component of prorated costs based on the average, and I do agree with what Wendy has done here, but some of the contractual will be based on actual
case
costs. So.
And we may not realize, or all counties might not realize all of the contractual costs. If we're not billed for it, we're not going to bill each county for it, only those that result in an autopsy or need toxicology.
Chris?
I don't want the public to get a wrong impression here. If you take a look at our packet, the chief medical examiner is receiving $67,500. The senior forensic investigator, I should put my glasses on. The senior forensic investigator is receiving $81,000. We have a deputy medical examiner. Certainly the chief medical examiner needs to get a nap occasionally. And we have another on-call forensic investigator. Also included in this expense are office space, office supplies, IT, training and education for investigators, body bags, finance, and billing and administration, to name a few. So I really do, again, Wendy, thank you very much for this agreement with Benzie and Leelanau. And again, I say that while it appears Benzie and Leelanau are getting a deal, I don't believe that they are. I believe Grand Traverse County is. And the reason I think we are is because if Benzie and Leelanau both know that it would cost them more than this if they had to go out and hire their own medical examiner, and that works in our favor, in Grand Traverse County's favor. And again, the majority of deaths occur here in Grand Traverse County at Munson, and I really do believe that this is an opportunity to work with the surrounding counties, and I think we're getting a lot. And again, good job.
Charlie?
I agree that we have to do this agreement. I mean, that's what makes sense. The question is, are we paying too much? That's all. I have no doubt that you did a great job. And we need this. We have, we have to go forward with this.
I think one of the things that we have to remember when we look at this number and we try to get our head around the number is we need to acknowledge what kind of a deal we've been getting for the last 20 years. Because we have not, with Dr. Houghton's situation, we have not paid any staff requirements or any of those things. All of that's been provided by his private practice. And he wasn't charging us anywhere near the going rate anyway. So we've seen a tremendous deal for a long time, which, it's been good for us. And I guess somehow or another we're at the point where we have to figure out how we pay for what is the fair and proper compensation for the medical examiner. Dean, you want to make a comment?
Just briefly, I mean, this is like any other department or budget that you have. This is a new way to do this. We're obviously looking, as Commissioner Maxbauer said, to share this cost with 2 neighboring counties. There's the potential to look, to expand this. Hearing from Dr. Fliss that this is, this is a full-time, it's not a full-time job, but she's responsible for this 7 days a week, 365 days a year. Wendy and I know that we have to manage this cost, and we already have some things that we're thinking about, but for now, we have to have this in place too, so that we can continue to provide, you know, the medical examiner function that the counties are required by law, by statute to do. So we will be looking at ways to manage this cost, and we will definitely be back before you with the cremation permit fee before we finalize the 2015 budget. So that's all I have to say.
Further comments? Dan?
So this will, if we vote on this, this will be for immediate, we will do it immediately, right?
Immediate approval.
Immediate approval? Yeah, thanks.
I'll let you know.
That was part of the...
Yeah, I'm
Motion? Oh.
Benzie and
I'm sure
Leelanau have
I'm sure I
not,
meant that.
Benzie and Leelanau have
Good.
not voted. They're planning to vote in the next 2 weeks.
Right.
Because they didn't have quite as long to look at the proposal, so we went to their, we did go and answer a lot of questions. But certainly, we're sort of the anchor county in this agreement, so it would be a good thing if you would.
I think it'd be beneficial for
Approve
us
it?
to make
Okay.
this an immediate effect if we're going to do this. Further comments, Charlie?
When do you foresee the cremation fee question being brought before the board again?
Relatively soon.
How soon do you want? I'm ready tonight if you want to talk relatively soon. It's not on the agenda, but.
All right. Further comments, questions? Okay, we have a motion on the floor to approve the creation of a regional medical examiner's office for the counties of Grand Traverse, Benzie, and Leelanau County. We have a motion by Max Bauer, supported by Lemko. We're going to ask for immediate effect, so I'm going to ask Bonnie to do a roll call vote, please.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Lemkool,
Yes.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Rennie,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Inman,
Yes.
Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am.
Thank you.
Thank you, Wendy.
Congratulations.
Thank you, Nicole.
Thanks for coming.
Appreciate it.
Okay.
Thanks for driving in.
It's a nice night out there. The sun's out.
Yeah.
It'll be dark by the time we get out of here, but the sun was out when I came in. Okay, this brings us to the Medicare retiree health care. Jen?
Jen Seaman, Human Resources Director. Tonight is the proposal for our Medicare retiree healthcare for 2015, and this group is the group that is over age 65. This is also the group that the board currently has $100,000 allocated to it to help reduce the premium, the monthly premium for our retirees in that group. Currently, the group is also in a zero deductible plan. As you know, we've moved the county employees to a $250 deductible plan. For 2015, we did ask for bids on a $250, $500 deductible plan to align this group more closely with the active employees. We did receive 4 bids for our Medicare plan, 2 Medicare Advantage plans and 2 Medicare supplemental plans. And the Medicare supplemental plans were both lower. And the lowest bid was from what's called PBS/United American at $252 a month. Additionally, Dave and Dean and I have been discussing the $100,000 supplement and brought that forward to you tonight in terms of reducing the supplement from $100,000 to $30,000. That will actually get the cost of the plan to be very close to what the retiree is paying now, because we received a reduction in the monthly premium share by making plan design changes, as well as a switch to a different vendor. So right now, the retirees are paying in 2014 $199.50, I should say, and next year it would be $194 with a reduction from $100,000 to $30,000 in the supplement. I should note that this will also reduce the cost. The supplement helps reduce the premium share for the retiree only. However, they can put a spouse on the plan, but they have to pay 100%. This is going to actually reduce the cost of anyone that has a spouse on the plan. Right now, the plan is over $400, and it's actually going to be $252 for that spouse next year. So there'll be some out-of-pocket costs. Granted, they're going to have a deductible as well, but it is reducing the monthly premium out of pocket for the spouse. Additionally, with this recommendation is also limiting the retirees allowed into this plan. As you know, we have a lot of our groups are closed. For example, like non-contract employees back in 2009, no more retiree eligible health care for that group. The board has actually closed that window for themselves years ago. So this group is still open. I am recommending that you close it, and it's for a few reasons. Because right now, our rates in this group are pretty high. And that is because we are experience rated. So it's based upon the claims that are in this group. And people tend to come in this group if they need insurance, which means they've got something going on. And so if you've got healthcare issues, the premium rates are going to increase. So that is, one of the reasons we want to keep it affordable for the county and for our retirees in this group. At over $400 a month for your spouse, plus your own coverage, it is getting to be quite expensive. So that is a summary of this. I have sent, on October 1st, I sent a letter to all of our retirees in this group, notifying them of all these changes, and received a few phone calls on the matter and have explained that to them. But they are aware of this, and that is it.
Jen, a quick question. At least through the end of this year, it was always my understanding that if, at least through the end of this year, unless the Board of Commissioners changed its policy, that any retiree or anyone that worked here for whatever the years was, I don't remember, there was an attachment of years, but it was a retiree from Grand Traverse County, that they could, at their cost, go into the Medicare WRAP program at whatever the premium level that was going to be charged, even with that $100,000 or now $30,000 as you're recommending. So just a quick question. Unless I misunderstood you when you said there were like groups closed or whatever, I did understand that that any retiree from Grand Traverse County could go into the Medicare WRAP program. It was the other insurance that was closed out.
That's correct. That's why I'm recommending that it close to anyone as of January 1st of 2015.
Okay, got it. I understand that now. Thank you.
Charlie?
What kind of response have you had from those affected people that have gotten back with you?
Well, one of them is in the audience.
I'm sure Dave's here to speak to this issue.
Dave's here. We've had a few, honestly, once it's been explained, a lot have said, oh, great, my spouse is going to be cheaper, thanks. There's been comments on that. There's been comments on the coverage from United American. And, just, is my doctor in the network? Those types of questions. Yeah, I mean, the retirees are great. I mean, this is a very tough agenda item, to be honest. We have a lot of really great employees that were here even before I arrived here, and so this has been very tough. But I think it's something that the board needs to be aware of and needs to consider.
I remember having a discussion with a former retiree one time about that he couldn't expect current employees to give up very much when he retired before they were born. And we do have some in this group that's probably close to that. So.
Are you saying retired before I was born?
Well, probably some of them are close. Not close.
Nope. I'm older than people think.
So if somebody retires at 12/31 of this year, they could go into Medicare WRAP. Is that what you're telling them? They're noticing all the employees?
That's what, yep,
Okay.
yes.
Charlie?
I would make a motion to approve the Medicare retiree health care plan as presented.
I'll support.
Okay, I have a motion by Rennie, supported by Max Barr. I'm going to give Dave an opportunity to speak because I'm sure he wishes to. There's a reason he's here.
Thank you, Mr. Chairman. I'm David Lather. I'm non-contract former director of your construction code office and now a Medicare retiree. The premium doesn't bother me at all. I mean, it's about the same as it was before. And as I've expressed before, I've appreciated what you've done for us as far as that contribution. Initially, we were told we wouldn't be paying anything, but we've all given up things over this this increased cost of our medical cost and our health insurance. The thing that concerns me the most, and I referred to my email to Jen as the season of anguish. This always happens about this time when we're with Priority, then we go with Blue Cross, and we move around. My biggest concern is we've always, and probably most of us Medicare people, retirees, have established relationships with our doctors and our other healthcare providers, and I would hate to see that uprooted. I'm not familiar with United American, and I understand that this is a supplement rather than an advantage plan, which means rather than the provider being billed first and Medicare second, Medicare will be billed first and the provider second. That's the way I understand that. Is that correct? So probably some of my providers that I've mentioned this to, they've not heard of United American. But I have heard of United Insurance, which is associated with AARP. But anyway, that's my biggest concern, of moving to another unknown as far as I'm concerned. But I don't know about United American. But I would hate to lose that relationship with my providers, and I suspect that most of us Medicare retirees would hate to lose that connection too, because when you start changing, your doctor knows your situation, and of course the older we get, the more they know. But anyway, that's the reason I'm here tonight, and I want to express my thanks over the years for your contribution to this, to our program, to our premiums. That's what I'm trying to say. See, I'm starting to suffer a little. So, anyway, that's all I have to say, and thank you.
You know, I'm sure, each and every one of us in the room knows that no one 5 years ago, 10 years ago, 20 years ago had any idea that we would see double-digit increases in health insurance year after year after year. Our increase for 2015 is 17%. Jen, do you want to address the question about whether or not their providers are covered with the proposed plan?
Yeah, Dave and I did talk a few times through email, and I did reach out to our agent who assured me that United American, basically, if your doctor accepts Medicare now, which all their doctors do, that they will accept this because Medicare is being billed first. So Medicare's first, and then the insurance is second to pick up the rest. So I did reach out to our carrier, or our agent on that, and also the city of Traverse City moved their retirees to this benefit, or this with United American. I think it was like a year and a half ago or so. Don't quote me on that, but recently, and I spoke with their human resources department, and they've had little issues. I shouldn't say no issues, but very few issues, and nothing regarding the provider network and service in this area.
One question and then another comment. How many people are going to share in that $30,000? And what would the amount of money that each of them would be receiving on their policy for that year, per year, or per month, or whatever?
It is 42, 43, something like that, people. I apologize, I don't have the numbers, but I do have, I printed out my spreadsheet and didn't put the number of employees, but I do have all the funding scenarios that we looked at for this, because there are many different scenarios. Yeah. So the county would contribute $58 per person, which would lower it from $252 to $194 a month, with $30,000 in funding.
The comment I have is that, I've done some research on this, and I did talk to Jen earlier, that those that are healthy can go into the Priority Medicare Advantage plan, which we put my wife on because she doesn't have a lot of drugs. It's $126 a month. So an individual may elect not to be part of the county program. The challenge is that they have to deal with the donut hole, where this particular program deals with the donut hole. So if you don't have a lot of drugs and you're pretty healthy, and things are going, that you're probably better off to get out of the county plan and go to an individual plan. And so that's what I found, and I've talked to a gentleman, Keith, from the Wright Group, and he was directed to me by a couple other insurance agents as the, quote, expert in Medicare. And he'd be glad to come in, or anybody wants to talk to him. Jen has his card. So if you're healthy, go on your own plan, because you're better off to be that way, and you can take that money and put more money aside to take care of that hole anyway. So that's quite a savings.
And then I think the other thing about the donut hole, as we've all called it for a number of years now, with the Affordable Health Care Act, that hole is getting smaller.
Yeah, but not until 2020, and you never know what our legislatures are going to do.
And I apologize. I meant to ask for immediate approval only for the sense that I would like to start open enrollment with this group as soon as possible to get representatives in here from United American so they can talk with them. So if that's possible, I apologize. I meant to request that.
Motion, the second, are okay with that?
Sure.
Okay. I'm sorry, Bonnie, I can't remember. The motion was by Rennie?
Rennie, it's seconded by Max
Supported by-
Bauer.
Okay. All right, we have a motion by Rennie, supported by Max Bauer, to approve the HR Director's recommendations to offer the supplemental plan from PBS United America with a $250, $500 deductible, 20% copay, $10, $40, $80 prescription copays, and various other changes to office visit copays. Reduce the county's funding to this group from $100,000 to $30,000, and to close the Medicare retiree insurance to anyone that the county's not contractually obligated to provide the benefit for that is not currently enrolled in the Medicare retiree plan.
Can I say just one thing?
Sure.
And this is really to benefit the seniors that are watching us. If people have questions and need counseling, the Area Agency on Aging provides MAP counselors. And the telephone number is 947-8920. And a MAP counselor is Medicaid, Medicare, I can't remember the last two things. But in any event, seniors can get help in making a decision. And that means any senior, whether you're a county employee or not.
I think it's important. I think the biggest thing that I see when I read this is this brings the benefits for this group in line with the benefits that we've approved to negotiate with our current employees.
Because you retired by the end of this year.
The other comment I'd like to make is this does not include those retirees that are currently on health insurance, that we have an unfunded portion of about $8 million.
Thank you for that cheery thought.
That we're not funding it.
We have a clarification question, Mr. Chairman.
Sure.
Actually,
Clarification question. My understanding of, I think what she said is that if somebody retires by the end of this year, for example, by December 31st, but they are not 65 years old, when they become 65 years old, they still would be eligible to come back to Grand Traverse County and get into that program. That's my understanding of that notice to the employees. If you retire by the end of this year, or you have been retired, when you turn 65, you can come back and get into the program if you wish.
No, you can't.
That's what I thought the motion was.
We're closing it.
Well, the closing, I thought, was the retirement by the end of the year. It wasn't going to be enrolled by the end of the year.
It says enrolled in Medicare retiree plan.
Was that the intent?
Mm-hmm.
All right. So we'd have to make sure everybody knows that.
Okay, Charlie?
As we go forward with our current employees and retired employees, we should expect more participation and respect to taking care of one's health. That's the direction we're going. We did some negotiating last year. About half our representative employees accepted that. I hope we can go forward with all our employees and do this, and this should then go apply to retirees as well. Makes perfect sense. And will help the county.
Okay. Further questions? Roll call vote, please, Bonnie.
Lemkool,
Yep.
Max Bauer,
Yes.
Rennie,
Yes.
Thomas,
Yep.
Inman,
Yes.
Lathrop,
Yes.
Wheelock.
Yes, ma'am. Thank you, Jen.
Thank you.
Thank you.
Okay. Okay, this would bring us to budget adjustment request from the county clerk. Bonnie, what would you like to talk to us?
Dean's this is under Dean's section for budget adjustments, but I just wanted to send you a memo and let you know why it's such a large amount. If you recall, I have files stored all over the place, and they were stored in the historic courthouse attic. The attic was taken over by the Circuit Court Administration, and so I needed to move those files out of one of my storage areas. So the ones I moved out of there, half of them went down and were imaged, and the other half are sitting in boxes on the first floor of the historic courthouse waiting to be imaged. And I was just hoping to get the rest of those imaged this year. I have enough money in my certified copy revenues because it's a lot more than I thought it was going to be this year. So it's covered in my budget, but if you notice in my plan, we're trying to image as many files as we can. I am saving money. They just came out with a new digital document imaging retention, and previously, if anything was filed in paper form with our office, we had to keep it 25 years. Now we can actually take it, scan it, and dispose of it. So I'm not going to buy any more case file binders, which were quite expensive. We used to spend a lot of money on case files. We don't have, this is covering civil and criminal cases. Juvenile, we haven't even been able to touch or even consider yet. Judge Stanton would like to get on board with what the circuit court is doing. Hopefully that'll come down soon too. But I just wanted to explain this, that is in the budget request that Dean will be talking about when he talks about all his budget requests.
Is this something that you're recommending to move forward with now, or as part of the discussion of the 2015 budget?
I would like to do it this year, since I have the money in my budget this year, and use the state contractor who got the low bid for the state. So if we move forward with it, I'd have to do it quickly in order to get the bill in time, because the state takes a long time to bill. So yes, I'd like to get it done this year.
It's part of the budget adjustments.
Yeah, that's just what I was going to say. It's in the budget adjustments.
I seen it was.
I just wanted to explain that I do have the money in my budget to cover it. It just seemed like a large amount that I'm moving around, and I don't usually do that.
So we don't need to vote on it?
Not right
No.
now.
Not right now.
It's under his,
It's
under budget
It's in Dean's
adjustments.
budget adjustments, and I assume that Dean's going to comment on it as part of the budget adjustments that we're going to approve shortly, too, so. All right. Seeing nothing else from Bonnie, we will move forward. If I get the right agenda. Move forward with the budget adjustments for the September 30th, 2014 trial balance, and then the budget adjustments. Dan, if you would, please.
Right, on page 28, you have your general fund trial balance through the end of September, and you'll note from the previous month, because of the tax revenues that we're collecting, we have a positive cash balance versus, for part of the year, we run negative in the cash in this fund, but you'll also notice that the total revenues are $5 million $4 million ahead of the expenditures because of that, basically the tax revenue that we're collecting right now. So the financial position looks a whole lot better than it did, the past few months. If you look at page 29, we're just summarizing or commenting on some of the major variances in the revenues through the end of September compared to a year ago, same 9-month period. Tax revenues, tax collections are up significantly over what they were a year ago. So people are paying their taxes in a much faster rate this year than they did a year ago. The liquor tax is the second big item. We are receiving additional payments from the state for that revenue source. The local unit contributions, we actually invoice for the community policing officers prior to the fourth quarter, so that's just a timing difference. And some of our charges for services revenues are lagging what they were a year ago. Hopefully those correct a little bit before the end of the year. And, the interest revenues are down. That's primarily timing from some of the advances that we've made to the townships and the septic plant, but those revenues will be realized. And then the last comment is the indirect cost revenues are lower in 2014 versus 2013, but they were budgeted at the lower amounts. Page 30 then is the comparison or some information regarding the expenditures. Most of what we have here are increases are due to the reallocation of the defined benefit pension liability. That's the UAL amount back to departments that had, in 2013, we weren't allocating that cost back to a department if they no longer had employees that were on that retirement plan, but we've changed that in 2014, so that's accounting for those higher personnel costs and most of the budgets that are here. The insurance billing is a big item. Higher appropriation was required in 2014 because we had a significant net asset distribution from MMRMA in 2013. And then the transfers out, everything is in budget, but the timing is different primarily for the district court and also the Parks and Recreation, because we are appropriating more to our Parks Fund this year based on the budget that was approved. So everything, for the most part, is tracking within budget with the exception of some of the revenues that are being collected in the court. And the Register of Deeds is a little bit behind, but I looked at that again today, and we'll break even there by the end of the year. So things have kind of picked up with the real estate transactions. So unless you have any questions, that's the...
I guess the one comment I'd like to make, because we specifically talked about the increase in revenue from the liquor tax distribution, 50% of that is also an increased expenditure going out to the new regional entity that handles substance abuse.
That's correct.
Treatment. And, it's important to note, just because we get more money doesn't mean we have more money, because it goes out for treatment of individuals with alcohol issues.
Or their retirees.
That was nasty. We won't get into that discussion. All right, moving forward, thank you for your report, Dean. Moving forward with the proposed budget adjustments, is there anything you'd like to speak to?
Motion to approve budget adjustments.
Support.
Motion by Lemko, supported by Thomas. Further comments? Dean?
I do want to make one regarding the last one on page 32. There were a number of ways that we could have came to you or asked for this budget amendment. The clerk's office, they've not filled a staffing position for the year when someone retired at the end of 2013, but I recommended that we increase the revenue that they're receiving in the department to basically take care of 77 boxes of documents that are sitting in an office, which, to me, that's a fire hazard. And we historically budget about $20,000 for the clerk to do that work, and, you know, this is obviously $22,000 more than that, but I think even with this budget amendment, the clerk will come in well over our revenue estimates for that department. So I would ask for your approval for Bonnie to get those documents. Is it imaged?
Imaged.
Imaged.
We don't have to microfilm anymore.
And they can access those records much.
Even with this additional expenditure, what I've seen for numbers, I expect that the clerk's office will still come in below their projected 2014 budget.
On the expenditure side, and they'll be over on their revenue realization, so.
Good job, Bonnie.
That's the plan. Thank you, Bonnie. Okay, do we have a motion to approve the budget? We have a motion by Lynn Poole, supported by Thomas, to approve the budget amendments. Any further discussion? Those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. That would bring us to administration. County Courthouse, historic bell tower.
That thing is back.
We had a letter in our packet. Dean, did you want to make any comment about this, or? Commissioners, would you like to comment?
Well, we have, over the years, this has come up a number of times, but I see that I'm looking around to see if we have anyone in the audience.
Perhaps we have someone that might be willing to step forward and speak to it.
I'll be honest, I did not have time today to review the entire packet, so I'm going to admit that I didn't do my job today and ask.
We could invite Elisa Kropa up, who is...
This is just informational anyway.
Well, but she may want to...
But, you know, if we're going to be wanting to have it fixed, I think it behooves us to at least talk about it so people understand what we're trying to do. Not being clairvoyant or anything.
Yep.
Yeah, you know, we've been talking about this restarting the chimes on the clock for a couple of years now. We set up an account to take donations toward that end. According to the information we have here, you know, we've received about $2,700, but the estimated repair is about $10,000. So, you know, I guess at this point, you know, I'm just throwing it out there. If individuals in the community wish to continue to raise money toward that goal, when it's raised, we'll move forward. Chris?
Mr. Chairman, why don't you invite Elisa Kropa, who is on the committee, up to speak and let everybody know about the tour and what the plans are? Or no?
We can do that. I wasn't aware that we had appointed any committee. So, you know, this letter comes from a designated committee that lists committee members, and to the best of my knowledge, I don't remember at any time this board taking action to appoint a committee.
I don't either.
Okay.
So, you know, based on that, I'm not at this time, unless we review this and determine that we have a county-designated committee to review this, that we're going to hear from said committee.
Okay.
Okay. All right, moving forward, Waters of the U.S. Regulatory Outreach Protection Act. Charlie, I think you spoke to this issue a couple months ago, right, about the
Last
US
week.
Last meeting also. Actually, we got a memo from Dave on this.
Right. It's in our
I thought it was quite interesting. I've been following this a little bit. It's a thing with NACO that they're talking about a lot. And we have issues with our water. And we're allowing control of our waters to come more and more from the outside. So my point was maybe we should submit some kind of written comment as to our feelings as a county on this issue.
I was called today by one of the news media outlets and wanted to know what this was all about, and I went, I haven't read it. So therefore, I went in and read this, and this is kind of an interesting thing, because what's happening is the U.S. government is trying to take over all of our drains and our wetlands to control what's going to be built and how they're going to be built on it. And when they start doing that, it's going to make to the point where we may not be able to build anything anywhere at any time. And so I think this is a letter stating, please don't let the DEQ take over this responsibility, because when you do that, you're taking away our rights and our personal property rights to be able to manage what we are doing here in our local area. And so therefore, I think this is really a timely thing. We've got to let them know that we do not support that, and I would hope that other groups will be able to get involved. You know, our water studies, and you know, the water studies from the college, you know, some of these other organizations, to be able to get them to come in and maybe make comment as to how they feel about this, so that we can get this going. So,
well, I think conversely to your comment that we may not be able to, or we may not to be able to build anywhere, is conversely we may not be able to regulate where people build and how they treat our waterways. I think this community is very committed to supporting our environment and our groundwaters, and with this change or proposed change, the federal government will be the individuals or the entity that will have control over where people are allowed to build and what requirements you set forth on development issues. And I believe that this is an issue that we need to continue to maintain locally, and therefore, you know, there is a draft letter in here to be sent to the U.S. EPA and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, and I would support a motion to approve that letter be sent on behalf of Grand Traverse County.
So moved.
And it's signed by the chairman.
So moved.
I'll second.
Okay, I have motion by Inman, supported by Lathrop. Further discussion. Charlie?
Herb indicated the DEQ.
I'm sorry.
This is an Environmental Protection Agency, and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. It's called a new proposal, and they're actually it's a definition of waters of the U.S. under the Clean Water Act. A lot of implications here going forward. I think we should be careful and approve that letter.
Absolutely. Further comments? Larry?
Well, I just learned that quite recently the legislature approved a bill that basically gave this federal agency oversight on all agricultural land in the state of Michigan to supersede the DEQ. And if you have any idea what it's like to deal with the DEQ, they are, I'm not saying difficult, but they're very thorough. You know, the farmers have been able to work within those guidelines, but when you now put that into the federal hands, you have just complicated the second industry in the state of Michigan on anything that happens within an agricultural property that involves water now requires the inspection and the approval of this federal agency. And I am very concerned about that, and I bring that up because if they're going to do it to agricultural land, they're going to keep going, and it's going to go to the point where the federal government's going to control or want to control where the local control and the state control should be. And I think we got to be very strong in our pursuit of this letter, as well as keeping our eye on this thing in the legislature and locally here, that we want local control with the assistance of the DEQ, not the federal government.
Or the EPA.
Or the EPA.
Right.
Constitutionally, the state of Michigan is a home rule state, and it's historically been that way. We've allowed local entities to deal with these type of restrictions and requirements, and this change will roll this all into the U.S. Environmental Protection Agency and the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers. I've had an opportunity a couple times to try to get permits through the Army Corps of Engineers. It's easier to have your teeth pulled out, I'll guarantee it. So, any other comments or questions? This letter will be drafted and sent to the EPA,
Stabenow, Levin,
And the
Levin,
U.S.
Stabenow.
EPA, the U.S. Army Corps of Engineers, copy sent to Senator Carl Levin, Senator Debbie Stabenow, Congressman Dan Benechek, and the National Association of Counties. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Motion carries. Okay, this brings us to the 2015 recommended budget discussion. In lieu of the fact that the county administrator is not here, I would like to entertain a motion to ask for a special meeting next Wednesday for the sole purpose of discussing the 2015 budget.
So moved at 6 PM.
I have a motion by Rennie, supported by Inman. Further discussion?
Can we also have the classification plan discussed at that time, too?
That'll be next.
I
Okay,
think
all
so.
right.
I think
Thank
we
you.
have, I think we have to discuss both of those as
Yep.
part of the budget.
All right, thank you.
Okay. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same.
Bonnie, do you have your?
I do.
You need 3 signatures, I'm assuming.
So if we get 3 signatures, that would be appreciated.
3 commissioners will sign for the special meeting, and the clerk will so post for the special meeting next Wednesday night.
So I might also recommend that if you have any concerns or questions, please get those into us so that we can, start to formulate some sort of an agenda to be able to talk through this and how we want to make that happen. So, if you're thinking about it, you got a week to be able to sit down and talk about, we got the review that's here. If you don't agree, or if you agree, or if you think there should be other changes, or we ought to be looking at something different, bring those ideas with you so that we can have that discussion.
Charlie?
One interesting point on this classification study, I don't know if folks read the paper yesterday, but in doing some of this work at Northern Michigan College.
Yeah.
It's a very interesting thing they did, and you read that article, which is a great overview as to what we have to do ourselves going forward with these old archaic systems we operate under. The college has seen it. It sounds to me like the employees there are for this too. I believe this classification study could help the morale of the county employee if we handle it properly.
Okay.
It should be a major portion of our discussion on the 2015 budget.
Well, I think it's important to note that, doing the classification study is just one small portion of it. It's the implementation.
Classification study is easy. It's
Yeah.
figuring out how you pay for it, that's the problem.
Yeah. So do you want to put that on that
We'll
agenda
put that
item
on that
also?
agenda also.
Yes.
Sure. Okay.
All right, so we're going to move forward. We have no unfinished business. I have no new business. Brings us to the second opportunity for public comment. Is there anyone wishing to make comment at this time? You again.
I figured I probably should talk a little bit about Ebola preparedness in our community. It's not something I could put an agenda item for because obviously the situation is changing, evolving. But I did at least want to let you know what we are doing as a health department in our community and how we're working to coordinate the community approach. So, the goal obviously is be great if it didn't come to our community, but we do need to be prepared if it does. So the overall goal would be to minimize the risk of exposure to anyone in the public, the healthcare workers, first responders. So what we were doing is we're looking at healthcare system preparedness. We've been working with them since August. There is a plan, and we continue to meet, and now we're going into actually several times a week, brief meetings. As news comes about of new cases and things like that, then we're going back and looking and reevaluating the plan, making sure we've thought of everything, making sure we have everything in place. That's one of the areas that we're working in, offering guidance to primary care physicians, some of the other kinds of clinics, urgent cares, Traverse Health Clinic, places even like the health department where people might walk in, possibly. With the overall goal, our medical director is, we've sent memos and some other information on how they can screen, just to increase the index of suspicion. So they're making sure they're screening for symptoms and then any travel. And one of the big things for us is responder safety and health. We had a local emergency planning committee meeting last Thursday, and one of the things that they asked for was recommendations on personal protective equipment. You'll hear the word PPE a lot with Ebola, just so you get used to this PPE. That's what it is. It's masks, gloves, gowns that fluids can't go through, things like that. And there's different levels of personal protective equipment recommended depending on what your level of exposure would be. So we do have guidance. We worked with infection control and the infectious disease doctors at Munson to get guidance out to all our first responders, EMS, fire, police. Also worked with 911 to make sure that they're screening nationwide. They've got some way to incorporate some screening into their calls. So we're not sending in EMS or first responders and having them exposed if there's, a level of suspicion. We're working on finalizing our plan for the health department if someone comes in our door, so we're protecting our staff and protecting people who are at the clinic. You probably hear something called contact tracing when there's an actual case. We do this every day with other infectious diseases. People probably don't realize that's what we do, but if you have somebody who's got something that's highly infectious, what our job in public health is to find out everybody they've been in contact with and what kind of contact, how long was the contact. So there's like a 14-page questionnaire that just came out if you actually get an Ebola case and you go through all these different questions to assess the risk. Then we would have to work with the judges and the legal counsel on whether to isolate and quarantine. So that's kind of the next area we're going to focus on, just getting more information and being prepared for. Obviously, public information and information sharing is a key thing, trying to coordinate with all the medical people, coordinate with tribal health, every kind of community partner you can think of. And then just surveillance and epidemiologic investigation if we were to get cases. So we don't have cases in Michigan. There's no cases in Grand Traverse County. And everything we know so far, 40 years of exposure, says it's not airborne. So I just thought I'd make you aware of what we're doing. We're on kind of a level 1, that's the first level of alert status at the health department. So we have had sort of our main meeting with some key people, and we will continue to have those. We try to keep them brief, but we try to make sure everybody's current on the most information and that we're always kind of looking ahead. Our experience with the fungal meningitis and infection outbreak in our community is what has really helped. We were very involved in that with Munson, and so that same group is who came together in August, and we just kind of took this topic and kept moving forward. So I can tell you we were on a conference call today with the other health departments throughout the state and the state health department, and we are definitely weeks ahead in preparedness from many, which is a good thing. There's definitely things we need to keep working on to make sure we're staying ahead of it. We've sat on several national phone calls. President was on one. First time in my 20 years in public health, the president has been on a call.
I was there too.
Yes. And there was another one the next day with Health and Human Services and the secretary. So that's kind of where we're at. I just thought you should know that there is work being done on this. We're continuing our normal day-to-day operations, but just increasing our preparedness level.
Yeah, at the emergency planners group, I was very impressed that they all came together, from the police department, the state police, the sheriff, the fire departments, the hospital, our health department. They're all coming together to say, well, I have this equipment, do you have this equipment? If you don't have that equipment, we'll make sure you get it. And so it's really a great thing to be able to watch these people come together and do the planning to make sure that we are in a safe environment. So we're fortunate to have the people that we have working at this program. Thank you, Wendy, for your leadership.
Okay, is there anyone else wishing to make public comment at this time? Seeing none, we'll move forward to Commissioner Committee reports. Herb?
I have two things. One is that on your desk is Dean Botts has a report for you as to what his projections are for this year, as to how the fund, the projected revenue and projected expenditures are coming in. So that somebody asked for that, so there's that information, so that you can kind of work with that as part of your budget. The other thing is that I've asked to do a certificate of appreciation and congratulations to Senator Carl Levin He will be in town this week, and I would like to make this presentation to him. Our sincere appreciation and thanks go out to you, Senator Levin, for your past 36 years of service and dedication to the state of Michigan, specifically for our area since your election to the Senate in 1978. You are held in high regard of the country's best senators, and for your constant effort to move forward and accomplish positive outcomes through the use of compromise as well as your work in social ethics. It is because of your personal and professional talent and expertise that you have been able to secure funding to the benefit of critical Great Lakes programs as well as for various projects like the Cherry Capital Airport, Michigan Roads, small businesses, and veterans programs. You are always available to people of Grand Traverse County, whether it was for a phone conversation or during the National Associated County annual meeting. You always took time to talk to our commissioners and administrator personally about what worked best for our community. For your service and valuable contributions, we thank you and congratulate you on your retirement.
Great.
So I'm going to make that presentation to him on Sunday. So if that's all right with everybody.
Great job. Other commissioner comments? Larry?
Just real two quick things. Acme Township is going out for a renewal on their farmland preservation millage. It's renewable every 5 years. It's coming due now. It's been a great and valuable program for Acme Township. Connected with our Farmland Preservation Board, we work closely with them in terms of the criteria grading, and they are going out and trying to gather some support for the November 4th election. It's been very valuable for the farmers in the Acme Township area to participate with that program, keep land open, keep land farming, and allow them to obtain the value of their land up front to keep that open space and farming going. Number two, at Whitewater Township last night, there was an extensive discussion on Baggs Road. As you know, the Road Commission made a report on Baggs Road. That's the road that half the road's Grand Traverse and half is Kalkaska County. There were representatives from Clearwater Township and Kalkaska Road Commission, myself, and the Road Commission from Grand Traverse. And we pretty much came up with an agreement that we're going to attempt to have the County Road Commission from Grand Traverse and Kalkaska, Whitewater Township and Clearwater Township and Kalkaska come up with approximately no more than $5,000 each to do the necessary repairs prior to winter for Baggs Road. And so that's going to go before the County Road Commission at their meeting next Thursday. So I'll be there trying to advocate on behalf of my district to have them kick in that portion to clear that road up, given the complexities of the ownership and how that's maintained. But I just want to give you an update. We're starting to make some progress on that road.
Other comments? Charlie?
Northern Lakes Community Mental Health spent yesterday interviewing the 2 finalists for the new CEO position. A gentleman named Jeff Brown from Oakland County Community Mental Health, Carl Kovacs, who works for Northern Lakes Community Health and has done some work with the Michigan Northern Regional Entity. We will choose a new CO tomorrow at our COW meeting.
Cool. Anyone else? I would report that last night at Long Lake Township's meeting, Jason Torrey was there, answered numerous questions in regard to the proposed 911 surcharge. He distributed a fact sheet to answer questions, what you should know about 911 public safety surcharge request. If anyone wishes to have copies of this, you can contact Grand Traverse County, probably the Central Dispatch or the administration office can get you copies of this fact sheet. It doesn't say yes, doesn't say no, it just simply tells you what the facts are about what the money is and what it would be used for.
I had a friend of mine make the comment that not having the surcharge is like going into life without an insurance policy. I thought it was kind of interesting to think it that way. So,
is there any further comments?
I think we have a closed session.
I see the sheriff sitting here. I'm pretty sure we have a closed session.
Dean, do we have
We
a
do?
closed session scheduled for this evening?
Yes, we do.
And for the purpose of?
Is it labor negotiation?
Labor negotiations.
All right, I'll entertain a motion to go into closed session for review of labor
So moved.
negotiations. Motion by Thomas, supported by Max Bauer.
Is there expected
Roll call.
recommendation coming out?
I would expect no.
Okay, all right, thank
We
you.
will take a roll call vote, please, Bonnie.
Max Bauer?
Yes.
Rennie?
Yes.
Thomas?
Yep.
Inman?
Yes.
Lathrop?
Yeah.
Lemko?
Yes.
Wheelock?
Yes, ma'am. So we will be going into closed session to discuss labor negotiations. We do not anticipate a decision coming out, so we will come out, come back to order, and adjourn.
Mr. Rickle, you know what I like about it?
Because it wasn't exciting enough.
I would call the Ways and Means Committee back to order. Entertain a motion to come out of closed session.
So moved.
Support. Motion by Inman, supported by Thomas. All those in favor say aye.
Aye.
Opposed, the same. Entertain a motion to adjourn.
Motion.
Second.
Motion by Lathrop, supported by Inman. We're all gone now. Thank you, everyone.
Sonny, Dave had asked Elise...